Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is episode 151 of the Subjective Perspective Show. It's been a couple years since we've been on, 2013, and this is another incredible episode which we are ecstatic to bring you all. This is June 27th, are we in? Goodness gracious, how time is flying. And we are in 2021, bringing us one of the greatest women fighters, I think, all time, an individual who has fought with the UFC, also has a podcast, which I'm looking forward to get into with her. Somebody who has a story which we are looking to get ourselves into, which is what we know you know is what we do here at the show. We are honored, ecstatic, episode 151 to bring you Ashlee Evans-Smith. And when I make this point that this is an individual who has superseded most aspects of what we think about the world of fighting, whether it's mixed martial arts, whether it's wrestling, somebody who has gone beyond what people sort of do out there on the mats in the ring. Somebody who has really maximized her potential in that world, and that's why we big shout out to my other half in life, other half of the Subjective Perspective Show, my brilliant, gorgeous wife, Lisa TSP, the audio engineer of all of what we've done here since 2013. We were watching Ashlee's fights, and you know, Ashlee Evans-Smith is somebody who is inspiring, synonymous with uh, motivation. When I think of Ashlee, somebody who, when you see her in the ring, you are just magnetized to what she's doing, and I'm telling you, fights. Again, whether they're wins or losses, these individuals are warriors, and that's why this is an absolute honor for us to share with you Ashlee Evans-Smith's story, and a story that I uh, believe is one that will truly give you a dose of inspiration. And we're in a very interesting time period right now, so much going on, and that's why here at the Subjective Perspective Show, we seek to bring you all insights, exposés into some of the most interesting and iconic people on the planet. In doing so, we are lucky to have had this opportunity to have done this for this many years and to continue along with these conversations that we've been getting into. What I'd like to do is go into a little, how would I say it, retweet contest winner piece, if I could, really quickly, that we had on Twitter. Please feel free to follow us all on social media pages. Get a sip here. And please connect to us. We enjoy hearing your ideas, and we often do giveaways before our featured episodes. Again, this is episode 151 of the show, and we're giving away some stickers here. Let's see. Got some keychains. Okay, so sorry if my finger's in the way. Got some cool coasters. Okay, and a whole bunch more, a whole bunch of stickers here, and more and more and more. We have a bunch of them. So those are going to, first, let me get two winners for this episode, and we're going to go to Sharon. And this is at 66 capital M lowercase HZ. We're going to connect with you via Twitter after this episode, and you let us know where we can send all of this cool, uh, uh, how would I say it, memorabilia from episode 151, the Subjective Perspective Show with Ashlee Evans-Smith. And really, this is something that we hope gives you a dose of inspiration for what you're going to be doing in your futures. I'm telling you, get your sunglasses handy because you all have very bright futures. And those are my lighthearted jokes here at 12:57 in the PM on the West Coast, out in the Yosemite area, as you can see right up here. Now, our second winner, Drew, goes at MASONS MVP. So, Drew and Sharon, both of you are winners. Congratulations. Give you all a little round of applause on our side out here on the West Coast. And please, once we get in touch with you, you can send us the best way we can reach you all. So we will be met with our featured guest, Ashlee, in about a minute or so, getting into that time frame. And, I just want to remind everybody that by going to beawoke.com, BEAWOKE.com. And we just want to remind everybody it has no political affiliation. I know the word woke has a very many different perspectives that one can take on it. And we just want you all to know that we actually utilized that term many years prior to going big. And so once it went mainstream and had a lot of different perspectives on it, obviously, we just want to put that, clarify and put that out there. But we are all about enlightening consciousness with our interviews, with our conversations that we get into since 2013. That's a bit of what we hope that you take away from this episode. Now, with that said, we are also going to be doing another giveaway after this episode closes out. So follow us on our social media pages, all at beawoke.com, as well as going to beawoke.com/TSP. That'll bring you right to the page. And let me make sure I have my everything open on my side. I do believe I am all set. And also making sure that for you all, if there's, an episode that really inspires you, reach out to us, send us a message over at the subjective perspective at gmail.com or at be awoke ent for be awoke entertainment at gmail.com, and we will get right back to you hopefully within a day or so, and appreciate the feedback. Most of all, we hope that this episode is one that really gives you a dose of inspiration. Ashlee, somebody who we've been looking forward to speaking with for quite some time. So being able to make this connection as Ashlee Evans-Smith is joining us right now, it's an absolute honor. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Ashlee Evans-Smith with us here. Episode 151 of the Subjective Perspective Show. Hey, Ashlee, can you hear me? Hey, can you hear me okay, Ashlee?
Can't hear you.
Okay, so let's see if there's any reason. Okay, audio on our side, double checking. So let me make sure there's no muted stuff.
I can hear you now.
Oh, awesome. Yes. Ashlee, you can hear me okay?
Yeah. And before
Thank
we
you.
start, I messaged you on Instagram to email me this link, but I emailed it to myself. I have a hard stop time at 1:45, just so you know.
Totally. Absolutely understand. Ashlee, thank you for being here with us. Thank you for sharing your time. Listen, what I want you to, feel comfortable with knowing that what we do here since 2013 is really, look to get into an expose of who our featured guests are. So it's going to be very mellow. I just want you to enjoy this process. And Ashley, first off, again, thank you for sharing your time. 1:45, we are going to sign off. So what I'd like to do is get into the basic questions of, what I ask everybody we have on our show. And that's, where were you born and raised?
Yeah, I'm from Ukiah, California, which is in Northern California. I currently live in Orange County in Santa Ana, but I was born and raised in Ukiah and graduated high school there in 2005, and then went to Menlo College in the Bay Area from 2005 to 2009.
That's wonderful. We're going to get into Menlo. I'm somebody who is affiliated with Menlo. Love everything that is going on with what the students are doing. I'm telling you, you are an inspiration, Ashley. What's for people that are going to be listening into this, across the Atlantic Ocean, in Asia somewhere, somewhere in South America, what's Ukiah like?
It's just a really small town. There's not a lot going on there. We had one Walmart, one bowling alley, two bars. Yeah, the high school was pretty big, but it was just an accumulation of all the kids from different towns that came into school, and just wasn't a lot to do. So, I can only speak for myself, but in a small town like that, it's very easy to get in trouble.
Hey, understandable, especially realizing that being a town north of San Francisco now. So now, how far north of San Francisco is Ukiah?
Um, 2 to 3 hours, maybe like two and a half, somewhere around there. Yeah, it's been so long since I made that actual drive.
Yeah, it's an area that we've driven through, never actually stopped on in, but beautiful, lots of redwoods, and it's one of those places that have a magic to it, and obviously, you being from there. Goodness gracious. There's something special about Ukiah, which, by the way, you may know, Ukiah backwards is haiku, which
Yeah, yes, it
which I came across that a couple years back. Being from that town, and obviously somebody who is a professional fighter and incredibly inspiring individual doing what you do. You know, how do you get into fighting, and when does that happen for you?
Yeah, I got into fighting through wrestling. So I wrestled on a high school team. I went to college, wrestled all 4 years there, was a four-time All-American at Menlo College. And I had a chance meeting with a guy named Eugene Jackson, who was my first ever MMA coach. He basically explained MMA to me like this. He said, "Oh, you like wrestling? Well, MMA is like wrestling with boxing." So I always wanted to try boxing, and I was graduated at that point, and I was missing that sports wrestling void that I had a void. It was like, I never in my life not played a sport ever since I was 15 years old. So I gave it a shot and I fell in love with it. It was like relighting that fire that wrestling had really started inside of me. And it was a brand new journey because even though there are aspects of grappling, wrestling, and whatnot, it's just so different. The striking, submissions, the joint manipulation, all that. And yeah, and I love it.
Ashley, so you start wrestling early on. Well, when do you start wrestling?
At 15 in high school,
Okay, what gets you into wrestling at 15?
I just was told that girls can't wrestle, and I'm very big into equality and kind of proving that I can do anything that anyone else can do, especially if they tell me that I can't do it. So I mean, I think I've just always had like a competitive, stubborn energy about me, and that's the beauty about mixed martial arts or sports. That stubbornness and competitiveness is a good thing if you find an outlet. So I found an outlet early on.
So 15, uh, you have an outlet uh, for, the world of Ukiah. You know, is Ukiah a place for you that is uh, you know, does it have a lot of fun memories? Is there, what was it like growing up out there in Ukiah?
I mean, it's just there's not a lot to do, like I said. So it's just, yeah, I mean, I got into a lot of trouble, yeah, there's no, I don't know much to say about my
Yeah.
small town. It's just, yeah.
Yeah, and no, Ashley, I say that because thinking about the wrestling world. I had a couple friends that wrestled, and just the cutting the weight aspect, I didn't understand how they were doing it. Just the whole process was such a discipline. Uh, you know, is that something that you put a lot of work into? Disciplining yourself, or did you already have that discipline going into wrestling?
No, I learned that in wrestling. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. It's I'm telling you, it's incredible because for anybody that's watched you perform, you're somebody that is top of the game. You're an inspiration to so many people who watch us. Us here, absolutely blown away by the work that you have done in how you perform. For people that are watching this, thinking about the, road to college, you know, how is that road? How was that road getting to Menlo College? An incredible school for everybody who may not know, in the heart of Silicon Valley. It's a place that I do a lot of work at, and a place that I have a lot of love for. And I've worked with a lot of the wrestlers on, all wrestlers, men, women, everybody involved. And I mean, just I'll say this for all the students, they're all incredible and just all stars. Um, how was that road to getting to the college process at Menlo College?
um, I mean, it's a very loaded question. I'm not really sure in what regard you mean. How was the road? The road was, it's hard for someone like me. I didn't have money, so I had to get scholarships and grants from the government and stuff like that. So it was very hard. I'm not exactly sure what aspect you
And,
mean.
and it pretty much just in terms of following that vision, getting to the college process. It's something that I know for myself. Going to a couple different colleges to earn my degrees. It wasn't an easy process in terms of just believing in myself. Was that something that you just sort of had within you, just knowing that this is something that you're going to excel at?
Yeah, I've definitely never lacked, you know, um, drive or desire to be better than where I come from. So wrestling, nothing was really hard for me, like I just kept wrestling. The financial aspect was hard, it's a private college, it's very expensive. So that was very hard, but getting there, I got a scholarship and no, I'm sorry, it sounds weird to say that, but it wasn't hard. I knew I wanted to go there and
Yeah.
I just wrestled my ass off and I got there and
Yeah, that's
yeah.
great. That's great. And you said, Ashley, and I apologize, you were you, the accolades during your time in Menlo, All American, I think you said. And I apologize if I misheard that.
Yeah, it's all online. I was four-time All-American, wrestled there from 2005 to 2009. Yeah.
That's well. Again, I just want to say, absolutely an honor to have you on this show with us. Somebody who has who I've graced that those hallways of Menlo College. So just again, thank you so much for your time here, Ashley.
No problem.
Um, Big time. Well, just sort of thinking about some memorable experiences you may have had, in the, college arena of wrestling. Were there any matches that stick out to you by any chance?
It's not really like a specific match that stuck out to me. It's more like memories, So my coach was Coach Lee Allen, who was just an amazing man. He was in, I'm gonna get the year wrong, but I want to say like the 56 Olympics, So he was an
Wow.
older gentleman. He was actually 74 years old my senior year. He was
Wow.
the father of Catherine and Sarah Fulp Allen, who were two of my best friends in college. They continued on their wrestling journey after I ended my college wrestling journey. They went, on the Olympic level to continue competing, and they're still some of my best friends. So meeting those girls and a lot of other women that I met on that team, I'm still friends with, and just that whole building that base, in college and the dedication and the 4 years of being a collegiate wrestler, that's like the foundation for the rest of my life, because it is hard. It's the hardest sport in the world. And so, if you can get through 4 years of high level collegiate wrestling, in addition to your studies, your social life, family, whatever else you have going on, I think wrestlers in that regard are set up to be some of the most successful people in life. And, it's not for everyone, obviously, but my entire wrestling career, all 4 years, it's just, I can't even, what's the word? It's just irreplaceable. Like, I can't even explain it. It's really like, it's made me the woman that I am. It's made me as successful in my mixed martial arts career, my professional sports career, and whatever else I do when I'm done fighting. I'm not quite done yet. But I know that that experience at Menlo, the wrestling, and even the fact that Menlo is a private college, I excelled there because I didn't get lost. I wasn't a number, and I think that's so unique because the world is just, it's a big place, and it's easy to get lost in the shuffle. And at Menlo, you're not just a number. You can put a face to a name. All your professors know you, the student body knows each other, which can be good and bad. But for the most part, I think it's good.
That's great, Ashley. Thank you so much for all that for all the information for that wonderful response. I've been in the world of education. You wouldn't looking at me, I don't look 2 decades old, but nearly 2 decades, Ashley. And I sent you a whole bunch of videos. I think I know so. I always do that for our guests, so they get a little sense of what we do and what I do here. Somebody who, again, this is incredible to hear your perspective on that small school aspect, because I think it's so important. I also went to a small private school in Long Island called Dowling College on the South Shore of Long Island. And Ashley, it's very reminiscent of Menlo. Actually, they ended up closing down for financial reasons, though like I had that experience, working in that, intimate setting with, professors and colleagues. Well, taking that aspect of your collegiate career, somebody who has, just excelled in the world of women's fighting, just fighting in general. Can I ask you, what's the road like to get to professional fighting? And to not make it too general. And I thank you for allowing me to reframe this. Sort of, were there, obstacles to get to professional fighting, and what kicked off professional fighting from wrestling at Menlo?
Yeah, that's a loaded question. Again, yeah, there's a lot to it. There's a lot to it. So, to sum it up, I guess I would say that, you basically just have to have the drive and passion to do it, because it's a hard fucking sport. So, you're going to get beat up. You're going to make no money when you start. Obviously, I started many years ago when there were even less opportunities. Women were in the UFC, stuff like that. So, there's a lot of obstacles financially, medically, whatever. It's a very it's a tough sport, it takes a lot of selfishness. So your relationships suffer, a lot of things suffer. But, if you want something bad enough, you prioritize right and you get it. And you may lose some things in the process. But if that's really what you want, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. And I definitely have had to sacrifice some things in my life to get to where I want. And, um, you know, the road is different nowadays. It's not the same as when I started, and that's good. That's a good thing, But when I started, it was a lot harder. You didn't make as much money. There's definitely been pay increases and more opportunities and more organizations and more weight classes and stuff like that. So it's still a hard road, but I definitely think that by being one of the earlier women in the sport, I paved the way, made it a little bit more smooth for some of the girls that will come after me.
That's you make a really good point. It's changed. A bit of an aspect of what direction people can go to, I guess, get seen. You were doing this before the rise of social media. Just the years that you mentioned in wrestling, and going forward. So you're getting out there pretty much face to face, and I think I have a lot of respect for that, because I know that's something that takes a lot of passion. And with that said, you get to professional fighting, and the Ultimate Fighting Championship is one of the uh, groups that you are fighting with. Uh, how's that experience, in terms of just going from Ukiah, small town Ukiah, and then you're in the octagon, which everybody knows is synonymous with the toughest people on the planet, which is what you are, which is why I'm so proud of you, which is why I have such pride in being somebody who's an Oak at Menlo, and because you're somebody who, goodness gracious, I come from working class streets of New York, so I would see kids fight a lot, and goodness gracious, I love watching fights, especially on television, I should say. So again, watching your fights was so just entertaining. What was it like, for you, being in the UFC, and just maybe at one point, if you ever said to yourself, hey, I'm from Ukiah and look at me now. It starts with a U, but it doesn't go UK, it's UFC.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge change, obviously, and I do know that a lot of people in my small town are probably proud of me because I don't know if it's harder or easier to get to the UFC depending on what size your town is. I don't think that matters. I think it may even help you out because sometimes in a big city, you've got more crime and more distractions and whatnot. But when you're in a small town, you just know you want so bad to get out, especially as a young kid. When you're an adult, you care about settling down and safety and things like that. But as a young kid, you just want to experience the world and see culture and diversity and have fun. And not a lot of that in a small town. But for me, I think it kind of helped me. It really was, it was a high aspiration. I didn't even know I wanted to be in the UFC when I was in Ukiah. All I knew was I wanted to get out of my small town and make something of myself and be successful. That's all I wanted. I just wanted to be successful, whether that was in my sports career. I didn't even know I was going to be a professional athlete. I thought when I was younger I wanted to be a veterinarian, and then I realized I wasn't a genius. I was kind of like more of a jock, and good with words and that kind of stuff, but not so great with math and arithmetic. So I quickly changed to wanting to be an investigative journalist, and I pursued that at Menlo, and when I graduated I thought that that's what I wanted to do, maybe be a private investigator, something like that. But that's not what was in the cards for me. And I'm so great that it didn't pan out. Maybe I could have been a female Dick Tracy. I don't know, who knows, but I'm not. I'm a cage fighter, which is crazy. But if you knew me on a personal level and my background, just kind of like, street fights as a young kid and that kind of stuff. And, falling in with a rough crowd and, just going to punk rock shows miles and miles away from my town. And, like, I don't know how I didn't get into more trouble, but you can kind of look at me and go, oh, it makes sense that she's a UFC fighter or a cage fighter. But yeah, to kind of answer your question, it's a huge change. I didn't know what was going to happen when I was younger. I didn't even know it was going to happen when I was in college. Sometimes you make a plan and things don't go as planned, but they turn out better than you could have ever imagined. And that seems like it's always what happens with me. I kind of make these goals for myself, and I may not always attain those goals, but something else that happens in my life turns out even better. And so, yeah, I'm very proud of myself from coming from a small town and making it, into the UFC and staying in the UFC. Um, but yeah, yeah.
And not just the being a fighter. So I want to touch base with that, as Ashlee Evans-Smith is somebody who the name goes with fighting, and so that needs no introduction. Though you're also a podcaster, if I can make the point, and a very good one. I've been doing this since 2013, Ashlee. So when we watched you on your show, Sex and Violence, no, no,
Mhm.
yeah, Sex and
Yeah,
Violence with Rebel Girl.
yeah.
Just to say, and I apologize. Just I was like, wait, did I throw the Rebel Girl in there before? I apologize about that. And Rebel Girl being your nickname, and
Mhm.
like to get into that in a second if I could. Um, So just want to put that out there. Sex and Violence with Rebel Girl. For everybody checking this out, please follow her on all of her social media networks. And just want to ask you, you know, uh, when did that start and what got you into podcasting?
Yeah, it's excuse me, I've only been podcasting for a little over a year. We're on episode 60, no, 57. And so yeah, just a little over a year. Basically I had this idea to do a podcast. It was right before the pandemic. And I played with it. I told my friends the idea. I wanted to interview mainly mixed martial artists, jujitsu, boxing, MMA, all that. But instead of about their fight career, I wanted to ask them about their personal lives. I wanted to do a mixture between Joe Rogan and Howard Stern,
It's cool.
kind of the best of both worlds. And a lot of people, they said the idea was great. They said, I would listen to that. That's very unique. That's very interesting. And I made a lot of excuses, because, sometimes we're just afraid to fail. It's not that we're lazy. It's not that we don't have the resources, but, especially with the podcast, it's like you're putting yourself out there, you're creating something. And if it's successful, then that's great. But if it's not, it could hurt your feelings. Or, maybe if you are in the public eye, people talk crap about it or whatever. And so, I weighed my pros and cons and I kept making excuses. And then the pandemic hit. I told myself I had no more excuses. I had all the free time in the world. And then I knew that if I didn't do it during the pandemic, that I would always regret it, because of course, after the pandemic, now that things are getting back to normal, my life is picking up, like it used to be, like busy, busy, busy all the time, very, very crazy. So I did it. I pulled the trigger with the help of my significant other, my boyfriend. He is amazing, and he just said, like, you can do this. You're great. You're amazing. You can do this. And so when you have someone behind you like that, urging you to, follow your dreams and be all you can be, I did it. And it was very slow going, meaning that I had great guests right off the bat, but I didn't really know what the hell I was doing. It was just learning
Yeah.
as I go. I tried to listen to podcasts about podcasts and whatnot, but really I just the best experiences were just hands-on, making those mistakes in the moment and having guests that were very understanding and appreciative, just for me working with them or choosing them to be on my podcast. And I'm so grateful to my first 52 guests. It's really I don't listen to my own podcast because I don't really like the sound of my own voice, but um,
No, it's great. And first off, big shout out to your boyfriend. Huge shout out. Awesomeness. Again, I know that firsthand as this is my wife and I that do this. Started out as my girlfriend. Long
mhm,
story, very interesting story, and very cool story. And so we understand that. So that's this is something that we hope that you go very long with, and you already have so many people that are checking you out. You have so many people that check you out, Ashlee, as you know. So this is something that we wish you, just continued success. And for us here, to have you on as our featured guest for this episode 151, it's a joy. It's an absolute honor. I'll say that again.
mhm,
So listen, Ashlee. So with all of that said, you're a podcaster, you're a fighter. You do so many cool things. I'm being cognizant of our time with about 16, 17 minutes left or so.
mhm.
And I have a couple questions that I always ask every one of our featured guests that I'll ask in a bit. Uh, Mellow questions, so nothing that's wild. One thing I could tell you here is we are not shock and awe people. We are come from salt of the earth, working people, hard labor people. So that's where we come from. We don't come from anything other than that, both of us. So that's why, like when you talk to us, we just want you to know that this interview super cool for us. So thank you. And so again, I mixed this with my education thing, just so you know, Ashlee. Got my degrees in education and history and all that good stuff, and other degrees, but my history degree, my undergrad, when I was had to interview people, right? So I interviewed my grandma. Big shout out to my grandma. 96 won the game. All right, she's at the next level, but she won the game. She had to interview her, so I'm gonna one day I'm gonna put that interview up as a featured episode. And I just remember that process of interviewing somebody. So I was like, okay, that's cool. And then we had friends of ours from Brooklyn, from out in Bushwick, Brooklyn, that put us on a network, the Bud and Roach Entertainment Network out there. And that was in 2013. So I was like, okay, you know what? I could do this thing. I was just like you just sort of, it's like, sort of fake it till you make it, just, give it your best. And it's just something that you want to do, something you're interested in doing, and you're very good at it. That's why That's why I make this point. I've been doing this many years. You've been doing this for just about a year or so. So just know, it sounds really good from our end over here. So, hey, with all that said, you got a lot of tattoos there.
Mhm.
What's your first tattoo?
First one was I actually got stars on my hip bones, and they were a guitar string gun. So it was not a legit tattoo place or tattoo artist. And I got the stars on my hip bones to hide them from my parents. And when I was about 18, I got them redone because they came out pretty crappy. But yeah.
Hey, okay, cool. So, most recent tattoo you've gotten?
Most recent tattoo was like a 9 hour session on the side of my calf by
Wow.
my one of my favorite artists, Ryan Jenkins, out in Las Vegas, Nevada. He works at a place called Seven Tattoo Shop.
Wow. Very cool. Very, very cool. Just had to ask you. You have very cool tattoos. So anybody that follows you, look out for those tattoos. If you find them, you'll know where the most recent and the first one was. So Ashlee, so pretty much I have four questions left. And the last thing I'd like to do is a word association game. Four words. First thing that'll come to mind, just make that point. So it's very mellow. So but interesting and insightful. So quick question, in regards to religion or spirituality, are you a religious or a spiritual person at all? And if so, does it tie into your life at all?
No, I'm not.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I always ask these questions of all our featured guests, so you could hear me ask this of everybody. Um, are you a political person? Always ask that of everybody, and please feel free to refrain from it as well.
No, I'm not.
Cool, cool, cool. I always put that out there. So anybody that's listened to an episode, that's universal in all my episodes. Thank you. Um, Final two questions before we go into the word association. So, you know, these last two questions, probably the most basic questions we could think of. And we try to find individuals who we think are interesting, people who are doing interesting things, incredible things. That's you. And in our episode 151, Ashley. So, you know, this question is one we've asked everybody as well. And I want to ask you, you know, is there a favorite book or author that you can make a mention of that you dig, or a favorite movie or and director, or you know somewhere in between, or if you'd like to make a mention of either?
Uh, I really am not in the mode of reading books these days. I definitely read a lot more right out of college. And then I'll read a book usually every fight camp, and it's usually some kind of sports motivational type book. But I would love to get a shout out to the podcasts that I'm currently listening to, just because, those are really the medium that I choose these days,
Yes.
So, the podcast that inspired me to start mine is called Guys We Fucked, and it's a two comedians, and they basically talk to their guests that are mostly comedians about the same things I do, and it's love, sex, dating, relationships, all that kind of stuff. They're a little bit more political. They talk a little bit more about their lives, more in depth. It's a longer show. It's usually about 2 hours, 2:30 sometimes. My shows, an hour, maybe goes over a little bit. I talk vaguely about myself, but it's usually about the guest. But that's a podcast that inspired me so much and educated me. And I was so moved by it that I wanted to do one of my own. So that's what I wanted to. And then the girls, they're two comedians. They're great. They're great. They're Christina Hutchinson and Corinne Fisher. And they're out in New York. And if I ever go out there, which I will someday, I can't wait to go watch them and support them. And then Christina Hutchinson has her own podcast called Voices in Our Head. And I listen to that one a lot, even though she just ended it. And then some other ones that are amazing and inspire me are Joey Diaz. He has he has The Joint,
Yep.
which is his newer
Coco.
podcast. Yeah, Joey Diaz is amazing. I just think that he's, in his words, kind of like a real motherfucker, and, I resonate with that because I
Yeah.
have some, a troubled past as far as, fights and alcohol and getting in trouble and in jail time and stuff like that. And he is similar, got in trouble, but he turned his life around, and now he, inspires people like me, like, hey, it's okay if you fucked up in your life, you can, make something out of yourself, whether it's an actor, a podcast host, or whatever you want to be. So he inspires me a lot. And there's like not silly, but it's like a tech podcast. It's called Buzzcast, and it really helps me out with my podcasting on the tech side, and the ins and out of podcasting. And so those are ones that I listen to, religiously. There's a lot of other ones. There's one called The C Word, but also two comedians, Lena Dunham and Alyssa Bennett. They actually showcase women in history who have been deemed crazy, and so I really like that one. I don't know, but I resonate with that one. And
That's cool.
yeah, those are the main ones I'd say.
That's great. Hey, Ashley, that's perfect. So listen, we're coming to our final question of this interview conversation. I'm telling you, absolutely inspiring to hear your ideas. So many things that you shared with us. I know when we get into talking, this we're just talking, right? So when it all comes out and you look back on it, you're like, wow, there's some pearls of wisdom there. Big shout out, just gotta say, to Coco Diaz too. So, you know, Joey Coco Diaz. I grew up out there on the South Shore of the island. So he grew up out in, I think it was in Jersey. Was it like, I'm not Patterson, wherever Coco was. And then I think the Bronx too. I lived in the Bronx for like 10 years, in Manhattan too. So Joey is like uncles I've had, like straight up. So when I've tweeted this to Coco, and he said, love you, man. So I was like, all right, cool. He's gotten the feedback. So I just wanted to put a shout out there to also, fans here on our side. Ashley, Evans Smith, listen, let me get into our final question here, and then a quick word association, just like a 2 minute piece. Uh, so, last question, probably one of the most simple we could think of, one that we also believe invokes a lot of ideas within an individual's own perspectives and interesting insights. uh, Question is, what is your favorite color or colors, if any, and why?
Okay, black. I love black. It goes with everything, you know. It's just, black, I feel like, is generalized as like a darker, morbid, depressing color, but I see it as a very strong color, you know. Yeah, I love black. It's black tattoos. I've chose to get all black on my body instead of
Totally.
color. Yeah, I feel good with black.
Very cool. Ashlee, thank you so much. Listen, want to do a quick word association with you if I could. So, got 4 words for you. I'm just going to say the word. First thing that comes to mind, just say it. Or if you think of something, you're like, I don't want to say that, say whatever you feel like saying. So, Ashlee, first word, education.
Menlo College,
That's pretty cool. Right on. Second word, Ukiah.
home,
Third word, fighting.
my life,
Fourth word, family.
far.
Hmm. So, listen, just want to say that concludes our interview convo. Okay. I can't thank you enough, Ashlee. So, for the next 1 minute, can I just give you some adoration really quick? And then you could just enjoy the rest of the week and the weekend. And it's a Sunday. Listen, we're, like I mentioned, I'm going to edit this up a little bit. So, whatever I'm mentioning right here, I'll stop the recording right now, actually. So, let me stop it for a hot second. Apologize.